Alright, so in this video I'm going to be explaining the different damage values within the game and when you want to use one or the other. So without further ado, here we go. Alright, so damage is broken up into four main types. There is basic damage, physical damage, laser damage, and then there is explosive damage. Now there are other damage types such as burn and corrosion and things like that, but those are classified as status ailments, and those are going to be in another video because this one's already 12 minutes long. So basic damage is exactly what you think it is. It's just basic damage. It's going to be applied relatively equally among all enemies regardless of their flesh type. Physical damage is going to give you a bonus damage to flesh enemies. The enemies with soft flesh or weak armor are going to be more affected by physical damage. Laser damage is the opposite of that. If enemies are hard armored or if they are largely metal, such as any of the Axiom's machinery, they're going to be affected by energy weapons. Now there are some enemies that are largely organic but are hugely weak to lasers, such as Insomnia Rex, on most parts of their body, because even though they are bio, they have hard armor that's weak to laser. Alright, so I'm going to start this demonstration off with the Lowenkrieger. The Lowenkrieger is a high attribute weapon. It's got a lot of laser attribute compared to its basic attribute, which means it gets a big bonus to laser weak enemies and no bonus to physical enemies. Weak point damage is not exceptional, but it is pretty good. It's at least on par with its laser bonus. Now, with the Outrider, it's exactly the opposite. The Outrider is a high physical attribute weapon with low basic damage, so that means that it gets a big bonus to physical damage, but against laser-resistant enemies, it's not going to be very good. It has the same exact weak point damage as the Lowenkrieger. These two weapons are basically functionally identical, except their attributes are flipped. Now you can see here, when in practice against an enemy with multiple weakness types, you're going to have notably different performance depending on what body parts you hit with what weapon. Laser weapons are going to do a ton of damage to the hard armored parts, and they're going to do notably less damage to the physical parts, whereas with physical weapons, it's going to be the opposite. A physical weapon attacking hard armor parts is not going to go very well for you. If attribute is what you're going for, the whole point of attributes is to reward you for picking your shots and targeting specific body parts. With the Hypnos in particular, it's got 2 flesh parts, and it's got the rest of the body is hard armor, aside from the weak points. It has 3 weak points, 2 of which are armored behind the knees, and 1 of which is in the middle of the head and very easy to access. Now, both of these weapons will do generally the same damage to the head, but vastly different damage to the body parts depending on what you hit due to these attribute defenses. Now, it should be noted that the red parts, the arm and the back, are not weak points. They are simply a different flesh type. That's a mistake that I made when I first started playing, was thinking that, oh, well, the arm and the back are weak points, let me go for those. That's not the case. It's simply a different flesh type. The left arm and the back are soft flesh, so they're weak to physical. They're not weak in general. As you can see, laser damage is not doing as much as physical will on the back, and it's the same with the arm. Alright, now let's look at weapons that are focused more on basic damage than attributes. The Weiss Donner is a laser rifle. and it is the laser attribute, but most of its damage is basic. That means that its damage, regardless of the enemy type, is going to be relatively the same. Not exactly, but very close. It does not have a very good weak point bonus either, but it's just going to be generally balanced against all enemy damage types, or all enemy armor types. Now, as you can see here, compared to the Lohenkrieger, the Weisdonner does relatively consistent damage no matter what body part you hit. Whether that be physical or laser, it's going to do close to the same damage. Now, the same rule applies to Golden Dusk. Golden Dusk has high basic damage and low physical damage, so you're going to see similar results with it. It's going to do relatively equal damage across all armor types. Now, explosive damage is split into 4 categories. For this bazooka, that's basic damage and physical damage for the projectile, and basic ranged and ranged physical for the explosion itself. The explosion itself will always calculate as if it hit the weakest part of an enemy, counter to the projectile, which will always calculate based on what part of the body you actually hit. So if the enemy has multiple armor types, explosives will always do at least half of the max effective damage, which is a pretty cool feature of explosives, I think. So now, let's look at these two weapons in a little bit more detail. So the Weisdonner is a high damage per shot weapon, while the Lohenkrieger is a high DPS weapon. I know while I was doing this test, it looked like the Lohenkrieger was underperforming in all aspects to the Weisdonner, but that's actually not the case. The Lohenkrieger was outperforming the Weisdonner in laser damage if you calculate it as damage per second. The Lohenkrieger has more than double the DPS, double the fire rate of the Weisdonner. So those damage numbers that you're looking at during the test, that was just to show you the difference in damage between physical, laser, and weak point damage types. It was not meant to compare Weisdonner and Lohenkrieger. I added this part in the video specifically to clarify that, because I realized as I was editing this video, oh wait a second, that looks like the Weisdonner is just outright a better weapon than the Lohenkrieger under all circumstances, even though that's actually not the case at all. So all laser weapons have a Femto correction bonus, and basically what that means is as long as you're over a certain Femto capacity, that weapon will have a damage bonus. For the Lohenkrieger, that's 60% damage while you're above 75% Femto. For the Weisdonner, that's 10% damage while you're above 25%. So for the Weisdonner, it's basically ignorable. But for the Lohenkrieger, it's pretty noticeable. As you can see here at full Femto, it does about 23 damage per shot. But then whenever you drop below 75%, it drops to 14, 15 damage per shot. Even with that in mind, the Lohenkrieger is going to out-DPS the Weisdonner against laser enemies specifically because of the laser attribute bonus that it gets. Now, just for a little bit of fun, I decided to add at the end of the video here what you can do with pure laser attribute weapons against a enemy that's particularly weak to attributes. So, yeah, enjoy the poor Insomnia Rex getting bullied by 3 Kamehamehas. Alright, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions or if maybe I missed anything, just go ahead and throw those in the comments and I'll respond to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and enjoy the game.